Welcome everybody, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to this week's episode of the weekly HO Scaled newsletter recaps for February 10th, 2025. I'm getting over a little bit of a cold here, so I hope that my voice isn't too awful for this video. Not a ton of new things to go over today, lots of order deadlines that we'll cover. Before we get into it, do me a favor and subscribe if you're new or if you find yourself coming back anyways. Really appreciate it. Like the video if you enjoy as well, and drop me a comment here if you're excited about any of these new releases, but we'll go ahead and get started here with ScaleTrains, their new arrival of the N-scale GP30s that you've seen going by. And here's a look at those features on these locomotives. Again, not an N-scale guy, but I'll cover them when they show up here. Just a reminder of how to pay for those pre-orders if you ordered them directly through ScaleTrains. They also put out a little video, a time to model on the CSX heritage units and all the different variations because they're all different across the paint schemes. So pretty good information there if you're looking for information on those heritage units. We do have some new photos here of the C&O Heritage GEVO, talking about the solid stripe configuration, and they went with the current configuration of the solid stripe. Those first 5 are now in stock, and here's a reminder of the upcoming CSX Heritage GEVOs that they have. A bunch of them arriving this month, and then others later this year as well. And now on to some pre-order reminders from ScaleTrains. First up, their Operator Trinity 60-foot height cube boxcars due tonight as of recording this video on February 10th. This is the Operator release with limited detail. Here are those road names and paint schemes. And then we also have the rivet counter models as well. Here's a little side-by-side with the GATX road name, also due on February 10th, the day this video is going up. And another reminder of those road names and paint schemes. Both of these have quantity buy discounts if you buy them directly through ScaleTrains. Next, another pre-order. We've covered all of these before, so I hope these aren't new to many of you. The new run of ST40-2s is also due for pre-order tonight on February 10th. There's a little blurb about the MKT version, the Katie. I'll let you take a look at this history if you're interested. Talking about the differences there on number 621 with unique nose striping. Here is another reminder of all of the road names and paint schemes offered in this run. If you have the opportunity to pre-order these, I would definitely recommend it because I'm fairly certain these will go pretty quickly once they do arrive later this summer, along with the Trinity boxcars. Some new announcements, an S-scale reefer that they talked about at Amherst. There's a difference of road names and paint schemes there for you. And this, along with some other pre-orders that we'll talk about, are due on Monday, February 24th, so a little bit more time in the upcoming pre-orders. Next up, an N-scale model, the ST40T-2s. As you may remember, I've got 2 Rio Grande versions in HO scale coming. Should be this month, hopefully. And here's some history on these locomotives. Pretty neat information here, talking about the positive train control. Here's a nice map of the Rio Grande. And some more history here, and all the road names and paint schemes for this N-scale release, due for pre-order on February 24th. Additionally, another model due for pre-order on the 24th, the GP30 lineup, their M's, U's, and GP39E's. Here is a little blurb about the CSX GP30M's. You can see a patched version there for CSX. There's that history for you. And they have also added more road numbers to the Chicago Great Western GP30s. Some information that I did not know is that they ran them in 4-unit sets, so now there will be a total of 8 units, which will be pretty neat. So they have their entire roster of GP30s available. And another reminder of the model information and all the road names and paint schemes. Many new ones in HO scales you can see noted out there. And again, pre-orders by 2 weeks from this recording on February 24th. Late summer delivery currently estimated. Here is a feature now of the ST9Ms. There's a version here, 50 without ditch lights, and 53 there has ditch lights. A little bit of history on these locomotives and their rebuild process, which led to them being classified as ST9Ms for modified. Some more information on these. Some of them have been saved and donated to railroad museums over on the East Coast. And again, reminder, this is lumped into their SD7 release as well that we talked about, the Southern Pacific version last week that I have one on pre-order. Here's a couple of the other road names available, but definitely get your pre-orders in because I'm sure these will also go pretty quickly. And a little update on their delivery schedule. The Trinity Reefers are estimated this month in N scale. Got both releases of HO scale currently. A new one coming out as well, just a reminder, in HO scale. There's those SC40T-2s I'm excited for, as well as some other exact rail and covered hoppers coming up. We have the next run of ES44s set to deliver in late February. Those CPKC units might be pretty neat. I don't have one on order, but I might pick one up. Just going to see how quickly they sell, and depending on when other models arrive. And then another reminder of their upcoming show schedule over in California. But that's all we have here from ScaleTrains. We'll move on now over to Walthers. All right, so Walthers just put out their new product express for February. First item here, a proto scale test car, estimated delivery in the fall. This is new tooling for them. You have different options here between the road names, such as different top covers or covered or uncovered wheel bearings. And here are those other road names included. You'll note they do have the gray data-only model, which has a ton of data on it compared to the other road names, but still pretty neat to see that as well. Moving on to the next announcement that I'm sure many people will be excited for. In the Proto line, the 85-foot Viewliner Sleeper. As this is a passenger car, comes both lighted or unlighted, with a little bit of a cheaper price, of course, with the unlighted models. Lots of different Amtrak schemes here. And you'll see the Phase 7 there has 3 different river names for the cars, which is pretty cool to see as well. I'm not personally an Amtrak modeler, but I'm sure those will be very popular. And in the mainline run of Plymouth ML8 switchers here, these are expected in the winter of 2026, so a little ways out. But these will come DCC no sound or standard DC, so there's no sound option in these. Here's a look at some of these road names available. And here's a couple more down here as well. These are more your unlettered versions, but painted. And finally, one final model from Walthers mainline that's due in summer 2025, the 40-foot double-sheathed wood boxcar here. Some nice detail on them, even though, of course, they are a mainline model. Good to fill out your roster if you're looking for some of these road names. Here's a look at all the road names in this run. That's all here in the new Product Express. We'll jump on over to their e-update very quickly. All right, in Walthers' e-update, first model that has recently arrived is their mainline 3-bay covered hoppers. Many different road names here that look pretty good. Next up, the Proto 50-foot Gunderson High Cubes. These are still on pre-order, not quite here yet. Estimated summer looks like on these. And next up, a model from Atlas that recently delivered in their master line, the beer box cars, in multiple different variations of paint schemes, different beers obviously on the side. And finally, from Broadway Limited, Walthers just calls out their new run of T1A, T1Bs that recently delivered. These look pretty good from what I can see. No reviews quite yet as of this recording, but I'm sure they'll look nice. Again, another nice Broadway Limited model, Paragon 4, DCC, or silent with a speaker already installed. Got that capacitor as well, so should be pretty good. We'll move on now over to Athearn. Alright, over in Athearn's update for this week, a model we didn't talk about last week in too much detail that we'll spend just a minute or so on is the Athearn 440s coming. The model shown there is from a roundhouse line that's now currently upgraded to the standard Athearn line in detail. There's those paint schemes going by, but we'll check out the product page real quickly. And here we are. Not a ton of road numbers to choose in each of these road names, but I think they look pretty good. Athearn calls out that they'll be perfect for, say, an HO scale museum or tourist railroad. You'll see they do come DCC ready or with Econami sound in them. And a painted unlettered version there at the end. And here's a list of all the features across all the road names. But back here in the newsletter, we'll move on to some shipping updates. For items estimated in March, we got the Athearn 40-foot chassis, should be here in early March. Here's a look at those different paint schemes there. I can't really tell the road names on them, but there's those options for you. And some locomotives now in stock. The GP38-2s now in the full true Genesis 2.0 line. I'll let them play through here. This is almost all of the road numbers in this release. Missing out on a couple. But nice to see them upgraded to the Genesis 2.0 line with the, as they call out, the lit number boards and class lights on them. We've got N-scale trailers in stock as well. And those same trailers with the now Genesis line F89 flat cars. The HO versions are also coming soon as well, so be on the lookout for those. Little update on some cancellations from 2024, just because the pre-orders were not enough to justify the production costs. Here's an N-scale bi-level auto rack that was canceled. We got HO 20-foot corrugated containers, as well as N-scale bay window cabooses. And finally, the Ford C fire truck in HO scale. But that's all we have here from Athearn. We'll move on over to Class 1 Model Works next. Alright, two quick messages from Class 1 Model Works. First up, their 60-foot wheel racks are back, offered in silver or mineral brown, as you can see there. These have just recently arrived. You'll note they don't come with a flat car, they're just the loads for a 60-foot flat car. The nice wheels and wheel detail on these cars, a couple extra spaces as well, which looks pretty neat. And they also have 50-foot wheel racks in the same colors of mineral brown and silver, but designed for the 50-foot flat cars. Also look pretty good on them as well. A little bit different variation you can see in terms of the car itself or the load platform itself, but still pretty cool. And one final note from Class 1 Model Works, their large transformer load is almost sold out. Here's it shown in industrial gray. Again, Class 1 Model Works pretty well known for their loads, just like we saw with the wheel sets, but this is another one that's running low on stock. If you were interested in picking up on this at some point, now would be the good time. But that's all from Class 1 Model Works. We'll move on over to a new model from Bachmann. Alright, welcome to Bachmann's newsletter. This is the first time we featured them on the channel, but they just came out with EMD BL2s that come with DCC on board. There's a little bit of history on these locomotives. Not a lot of manufacturers have done these, so it's more of a niche market. It's a very niche locomotive as well. And here's a look at the total 4 paint schemes and total 4 road numbers. So the paint schemes, or the items you see here on the screen, are the only ones that they have. These do not come with sound. They're just DCC on board. And James Wright recently did a review on these. Not a big fan, in my personal opinion. I'll try to keep it out of it, but definitely check that out if you're interested. He's got the full details on them. Is a look at the features on these models. But again, Bachmann line, not necessarily up there with ScaleTrains, but if you're looking for a BL2, this is probably your best bet in the current market. So take it with a grain of salt. See if this is the model for you. We'll move on next to finish off with just some order reminders from Rapido for upcoming pre-orders due in the next week. All right, so welcome on over to Rapido's newsletter. A little summary of what we'll be talking about here today. I'll try to move a little bit quickly through here since it is a little bit long. We're getting to the end of the video. Here's some information on tariffs about Chinese goods from the U.S. So items shipping to the U.S. over $800 will have that 10% tariff. So depending on your purchase, just keep an eye out for that. They're also hiring a service technician. Love that shot there. That's definitely how you hold a soldering iron. Rapido's got the best humor. But here is some of the qualifications here. I'll just move a little bit quickly here in case you're interested in working for Rapido. You can send them their resume and cover letter to that email there on screen. And they also had some customer photo submissions here for this month. Here are the turboliners. And a shot here of a station with the Trinity Railway Express bi-levels. I have a set of those I do need to do a review on. And here is a dome car. An update on the ST7, ST9, and ST10s. That order deadline is pushed back to March 3rd. The samples were a little bit delayed, so check out their YouTube channel when that comes out as well, and we'll cover it here once I have more information on it, but that's pushed back to March 3rd. Next up, a whole list of February order deadlines. First one here, the C36-7s. Here are some of the pre-production samples. You can see on that one the dynamic brake housing is called out, that extended range there with the box that protrudes upwards. We've got the Ferromex windshield protectors on that gray model with different ditch lights. And here's that blue Conrail version. Then a couple Norfolk and Western, Norfolk Southern versions here. Lots of different details between each road name here. And here's that same yellow one from the beginning, the UP Missouri Pacific version. And here's a whole list of all the features on these models. Big thing to pay attention to, they've got step lights, which is really cool. They first debuted them on their C30-7, so it's starting to make its way into the mainstream hobby. Here's a full list of the schemes. Those Burlington Northern versions at the top are C33-7s, but still offered in this run, which is pretty cool. These pre-orders, as well as the other pre-orders that we just saw on the list there, are all due on February 17th. And the next order deadline here, the 44-tonner. This is their second release of these. Here are some pre-production samples on these. And here's a list of the many different phases that they're offering, with the differences called out. And of course, if I'm moving too quickly through any of these, feel free to pause at any time. Just want to move a little bit quickly here, save my voice a little bit. And here's the full list of features. Of course, Phase 1A and B and Phase 2 never offered in plastic as they call out. And here is a full list of all the paint schemes, many different variations here. Like you got the bell there on the Great Northern. And when we get down to it here, the Pacific Electric there with the pantograph pole, or the catenary pole, excuse me. Again, same order deadline of February 17th. They're also doing a couple painted and unlettered versions in this run as well. Next up, the Greenbrier transverse coil car that we mentioned last week. Here are the sample shots of these, which is pretty cool. Neat thing about this, full die-cast metal underframe, which is nice. The hood is also removable, so you can go ahead and put your coil of choice inside. Here's a look at that underbody. And finally, the paint schemes here. You'll notice at the very bottom as they call out ROLX, the Railroad of Lies, which is a favorite. I don't own any yet, but I'd like to pick some up one day. There that is patched over at the bottom. And next up, their second run of NSC ballast hoppers. These look great. They got the removable ballast loads, all die-cast construction, which is really cool. There's those painted, unlettered versions that they're also offering, as well as the full list of features. And here are some photos of these that we saw during the original announcement, and the full list of schemes here. These are offered as single cars or with 6-pack sets. Of course, if you buy the single car, you'll just get a random number of the car offered in the 6-pack. There's those more modern Amtrak and Herzog versions as well. And again, same deadline, February 17th coming up here. And one more, in N scale, the SP Dome Lounges. This is a car that they're still working on in HO scale, sounds like. But those pre-orders were due a while ago for the HO scale version. But again, good underbody detail on these cars, neat interior shots, and some more sample photos. And here are the full run of paint schemes in this run. You'll see the Canadian Pacific version and the modern excursion fleet at the bottom as well. And next up, some March order deadlines that we'll take a look at. First, their Super Continental line of passenger cars, which has been known to be really, really good. I don't own any yet, but we'll get to the 20th anniversary cars, which I have on pre-order. Reason for the delay on these, sounds like the factory was a little bit capacity challenged. Here are the interior shots of these cars. So much detail on them, they look great. Really excited for these to deliver, but they're still a ways out, as we're not even done with pre-orders yet. There's the underbody, and a little list of the design improvements over their initial run. And here are the many different paint schemes and variations, starting with the lightweight coach. Lots of options there. Then we get into the duplex sleepers. So these pretty much cover almost all the eras of this car. Considering picking up a Great Northern one of these as well. And finally, the 10.5 sleepers to round out this release. So if you're looking to build a train, buy a couple of each and stick them all together and you got a perfect train here. As we mentioned earlier, the 20th anniversary cars here. These are offered at the original prices, which is pretty cool. First up, we got the Edmundston Duplex Sleeper, and then the Fantasy Lark 10.5 Sleeper, which is really cool. I have both of these on pre-order just because it's a nice model to get myself into the Continental line of passenger cars. And of course, can't beat that price at half off, so hope it's totally worth it. Nice lighted cars, good underbody detail, so I'd recommend these. You can only order them directly through Rapido, just as a heads up. They did a little video about this next model, the AAR box cars. And here's some more details on those. Starting with some sample shots. A couple different variations and some detailed close-ups. These are those brake wheels. Even variations down to that point. And next, some of these separately applied pieces. You'll see some of them plastic, some of them metal grabs and such. And some underbody shots here. And lastly, the roof and the full underbody without the separately applied pieces. Here's a list now of all the features. And many paint schemes here, so we'll be scrolling for just a little bit. This is definitely going to be the definitive release of these, assuming all the details are correct. I'm not an expert on these cars. If there's something very obvious, feel free to let me know. Still going. Many paint schemes here. They're definitely not saving any back here. But again, order deadline coming in March, so don't worry about them too much just yet. They recently delivered the BART rail cars after a couple years of waiting, so nice to see those as well. You can check out their video, and there's a bunch of reviews already online of these cars. And another model that just delivered their new run of PC&F box cars. This includes their final 8 cars in the current schemes with different patched variations. All of them are completely different. And now for the arrival updates. There's those B7069 box cars in stores. Very excited to see those F40PH M-2s finally in the warehouse, as well as the F30 flat cars and maintenance away variations, such as the NS Camp cars and things. Pretty cool to see those as well. Don't have any of those on order, but just a nice model. And the factories have been closed for Chinese New Year, so skip through that photo here. That's all we have from Rapido, and that's all I have for this week. Sorry I'm a little bit sick. Hopefully getting over it soon. But if you did make it this far, consider subscribing. Really appreciate it. Thank you to all those who have already done so. Like the video if you enjoyed, and drop me a comment here if anything is exciting or you just want to chat. Love going through those. But with that, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.